The airport smelled of cinnamon and jet fuel, Christmas everywhere but mercy nowhere. Amanda Cole tightened her gray wool coat as the boarding lane flashed, final call. 5 minutes until gate closure. She stepped forward, ticket and black VIP card in hand. "Ma'am," said the gate agent. "Melissa Hart," her eyes narrowing. "Are you sure this is your ticket?" Amanda blinked. "I printed it myself, if that's what you're wondering." Melissa's polite smile faltered. "We've had incidents before. Could you step aside for a moment?" Behind her, the line froze. A businessman cleared his throat, avoiding her eyes. The intercom repeated, "Final boarding for Flight 217, 4 minutes." Amanda felt the air thin, the warmth draining from her hands. She wasn't angry yet, only stunned that even here, even now, someone looked at her and didn't see her name, only her color. The gate light flickered yellow. Have you ever been judged before anyone even knew your name? Where are you listening from tonight? New York, Lagos, London, or somewhere in between? If stories of truth and justice speak to you, hit subscribe so you won't miss what comes next. Now, imagine the crowd growing restless behind her, the clock ticking down, and Amanda still waiting at gate 12. Let's step into this video. The crowd behind Amanda shifted, restless in the holiday chaos. Luggage wheels clicked, toddlers cried, a speaker blared another delay at a different gate. But here, time moved differently. Every sound around gate 12 felt sharpened, directed at her. Melissa, the gate agent, tapped on her screen. "I'm not seeing this ticket in the upgrade list," she said, voice calm but cool, the way people sound when they believe the rules are on their side. Amanda held her breath. "It's under Cole, Amanda. Platinum account." The agent's nails paused mid-air. "Platinum. She tilted her head. "Could I see another form of ID?" Amanda's fingers fumbled through her coat pocket, pulling out her passport. As she handed it over, a small envelope slipped free, an embossed business card fluttering to the floor. The purser, Paul Benson, scooped it up before she could. He read it aloud, smirking. "Marcus Lee, FAA Procurement Liaison. Big friends in high places, huh?" Amanda straightened. "He's a partner. In technology. Payments, systems." "Sure," Paul said, sliding the card back with exaggerated care, as if it might stain his fingers. "Of course." 3 minutes, the intercom said. "Final call for Flight 217. Her phone buzzed in her palm. Elena Brooks, her CFO. "Investors won't wait past midnight. We lose this meeting, we lose funding." Amanda closed the message quickly, as if the words were private shame. No one here knew she was the CEO of a company employing hundreds. To them, she was just another woman in a cheap coat trying to board the wrong line. A cough rippled through the queue. A teenage boy whispered to his father, "She's holding things up." The father shushed him, but didn't disagree. A few feet away, Jada Kim, a young journalist waiting for her own flight, lifted her phone almost reflexively. Her followers loved scenes like this. Holiday chaos, she might caption later. Through her camera, Amanda looked small under the fluorescent light, her breath fogging the air as she tried to explain herself. "Miss Cole," Melissa said, returning her passport, "I understand it's stressful, but we've had issues with unauthorized access lately. Please wait until we confirm your status." "Unauthorized?" Amanda repeated softly. Her voice barely carried, but every word landed like glass breaking. "You think I printed this at home?" Melissa hesitated, cheeks flushing. "I didn't say that." "No," Amanda said. "You implied it." The air between them thickened. Amanda felt eyes on her, the couple behind her, the uniformed pilot watching from the counter, the silent camera in Jada's steady hand. Every breath she took seemed to echo in the terminal's polished floor. Paul checked his watch. Stage whispered, 2 minutes, Melissa. We're closing soon." "Understood," the agent replied, then offered Amanda a smile, meant to look sympathetic, but not too personal. If you'll just step over there? Amanda didn't move. I've flown this route 20 times this year. You can check that. Melissa's jaw tightened. Ma'am, please don't make this difficult. The phrase landed harder than intended. Amanda exhaled through her nose, controlling the tremor in her voice. You already did. Behind the counter, a red boarding light blinked impatiently. A child started crying in the queue. Paul turned to Melissa, murmuring, We'll just let security verify it, okay? Safer that way. He said it kindly, as if she were a child. That was the part that stung. Amanda looked at the card still lying on the counter. Marcus Lee, FAA. The letters gleamed under the harsh light. An irony too sharp to miss. The gate that wouldn't let her through might someday answer to the system she'd helped modernize. A gust of cold air swept from the open jet bridge, lifting a strand of her hair. The coat around her shoulders felt heavier now, not from warmth, but from the weight of being judged. 1 minute and 50 seconds. Jada's camera lens caught that image. A black woman standing still while the world around her moved. A small business card shining like defiance beside her hand. Amanda finally stepped back. She took a seat near the window, jaw set, phone clutched like armor. Out on the tarmac, snow began to fall in thin, deliberate lines. The line moved forward without her. The silence she left behind felt louder than the crowd. Jada stopped recording. She didn't know why her hands were shaking. Amanda's reflection wavered in the glass of the boarding gate, half her face framed by snowlight, the other by the yellow glow of the final call sign. Her phone showed 7:42 p.m. She had exactly 3 minutes before the door was sealed. Melissa's headset crackled. Security's on the way to verify, she said, still polite, still pretending it was a misunderstanding. From behind her, Paul Benson, the purser, appeared with silver wings on his lapel, confidence in his stride. He leaned casually against the counter, a cup of coffee steaming in his hand. What seems to be the problem? His tone wasn't curious. It was performative, as if offering help to a child who'd made a mess. Melissa gestured toward Amanda. Potential ticket discrepancy, sir. She insists she's on the VIP list. Paul nodded, scanning Amanda top to bottom. His gaze lingered just long enough to sting. Relax, sweetheart, he said with a patronizing smile. We'll figure it out. No need to get all worked up. The word sweetheart hit harder than she expected. Amanda's spine stiffened. She wanted to correct him to say, I'm not your sweetheart. I sign deals bigger than your salary. But she knew the trap. Raise your voice, and you become aggressive. Stay silent, and you become invisible. So she smiled instead, small, deliberate. I'm perfectly relaxed, she said. I just need to board before the gate closes. Paul chuckled, glancing at Melissa. She's got spirit. That's good, but rules are rules. He set down his coffee, leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice to the confidential tone men use when pretending empathy. Look, I get it. It's the holidays. Everyone's stressed. But let's not make this into a scene, okay? Amanda blinked at him. A scene? I'm just saying people are watching. He wasn't wrong. The queue had thinned, but the few who remained pretended to scroll their phones, pretending not to stare. One woman whispered something to her husband, who shook his head and mouthed, Don't. The air smelled faintly of burnt espresso and melting snow. Amanda could taste metal in her mouth. 3 minutes remaining. The intercom repeated the phrase, like a verdict. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Elena. The investors are on Zoom. We can't stall them forever. Amanda locked the screen. The sound of the vibration felt indecent, like her private world intruding on this public humiliation. Paul clapped his hand softly. All right. Let's get this sorted before we close up, yeah? Melissa, check the manifest again. He spoke over Amanda as though she weren't there. That was the cruelty of it, not the words, but their placement, the deliberate erasure. "Sir," she interrupted, voice steady but sharp. "I understand you have procedures, but I've already provided my credentials. I'm not sure what else you need." Paul gave a sympathetic grin. "Just your patience." Her jaw tightened. "You've had that too." Melissa shifted uneasily, glancing at the clock. Paul raised an eyebrow, like a teacher watching a student talk back. "Careful, sweetheart," he murmured again, the word coded in warning this time. Tone goes a long way. Amanda felt her heartbeat climb into her throat. Every nerve begged her to shout, to rip the boarding pass in half and throw it at his polished shoes. Instead, she took one deep breath, then another. Her therapist once called it the armor of stillness. She wore it now. "I'm not changing my tone," she said finally. "I'm asking for respect." Paul opened his mouth, but Melissa cut in softly, perhaps out of guilt. "Sir, maybe we can." "No," Paul said. "She can wait. We're closing soon anyway." Amanda's hand trembled as she reached for her phone again, thumb hovering over the contact list. Marcus Lee, FAA liaison. She could end this with one call. But she didn't want power to be the reason she was treated fairly. She wanted fairness to stand on its own. She put the phone away. Jada, still filming from the side, caught that gesture, the tiny restraint of someone refusing to weaponize their worth. Her live stream chat began filling with comments. Why are they stalling her? She's so calm, it's painful to watch. The gate light blinked red. 2 minutes. Amanda looked past Paul to the plane visible through the glass tunnel. Its silver body gleamed against the snow like a promise just out of reach. Paul sighed theatrically, checked his watch again. "Well," he said to Melissa, "if security doesn't show in the next minute, we'll just have to deny boarding." Amanda's voice was barely above a whisper. "You'd do that?" He smiled, not cruelly, but confidently, like someone who never feared consequences. "It's protocol, ma'am." The word "ma'am" this time sounded like closure, not courtesy. Amanda adjusted her coat, staring at the reflection of the gate light in the glass. The color reminded her of the recording dot on a phone screen. She didn't know Jada was capturing her every breath. Behind her, the speaker chimed one final time. Final minute before gate closure. The terminal lights hummed overhead, steady and merciless. Snow pressed against the glass walls like static. The crowd at Gate 12 had thinned, but the tension lingered, humming through every announcement chime. Jada Kim's phone screen glowed in her palm. She hadn't meant to start a live stream. She just wanted a short clip for her travel blog. But something in the scene felt off, too familiar. She tapped Go Live. The image stabilized. Amanda Cole standing at the counter, motionless, one hand gripping her passport, the other resting on the VIP card she'd laid flat on the polished surface. Her fingers trembled, part cold, part humiliation. Viewers trickled in, names popping up like sparks. At Travel Jewels, at Ethenrights, at Aviation Watcher. Jada spoke quietly, narrating without realizing it. Gate 12, New York flight. They're not letting her board. She's showing a valid card, I think. A man's voice behind her, soft but cutting. They always assume people like her don't belong. Jada turned. The speaker was a middle-aged black man in a navy trench coat, eyes tired but kind. He wasn't filming. He didn't need to. He just knew. Paul Benson noticed the camera then. "Ma'am," he called toward Jada. His tone clipped. "Recording isn't allowed in restricted areas." Jada lowered the phone halfway. "This is a public terminal." Melissa, the gate agent, stepped between them. "We're just doing our job. Please stop recording." Amanda said nothing. She looked at Jada, then at the people watching, the ones too afraid to intervene but too human to look away. She wasn't angry, just profoundly tired. Her phone buzzed again. "Call me. The investors are waiting." Amanda turned the screen face down on the counter. For once, she didn't want to be the CEO who fixed things. She wanted the world to see how easily power could evaporate when perception turned against you. 3 minutes left, Paul muttered. Amanda's voice was calm, almost inaudible. "I'm aware." Melissa gestured to the side again. "Ma'am, please, if you'll just wait over there." Amanda didn't move. Instead, she slid the VIP card an inch closer to Melissa. The motion was slow, deliberate. "You can scan it again." "Hin." Her hand shook slightly. The gesture wasn't defiant. It was almost pleading. The camera caught it perfectly. A trembling act of grace in the face of humiliation. The live stream comments flooded in. "Why are they double-checking? She's too calm. That's power." Someone tagged the airline. The hashtag formed itself number gate 12. Melissa's headset buzzed. She pressed it to her ear, nodding quickly. "We're verifying with corporate now," she said, but her voice lacked confidence. Paul crossed his arms, eyes darting between Amanda and the phone that wouldn't stop recording. "This isn't about race," he said suddenly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "We're following procedure." Amanda finally looked at him. "Then why is your procedure only happening to me?" The crowd went still. Even the boarding announcement seemed to pause. Jada felt her chest tighten. Through her camera lens, Amanda didn't look like a CEO or a stranger anymore. She looked like someone defending her right to exist in a place built to exclude her politely. Melissa opened her mouth to reply, but nothing came. The silence was suffocating. A child's cry broke it high, startled, human. The sound snapped the air like a crack. Amanda took a slow breath. Her eyes glistened not with tears, but restraint. She turned slightly toward Jada's camera, not to address it, but to let it witness. "Every time I'm quiet," she said softly, "it costs me something." Paul frowned. "Excuse me?" Amanda's gaze didn't leave the lens. Just thinking out loud. The live stream count climbed 3,200, 4,100, 5,000 viewers. Comments flew across the screen. "This feels wrong. Stay strong. We see you." Outside, the snow thickened. The light through the window fractured into silver shards across the counter. The atmosphere felt sacred, electric, like the world was holding its breath for her next move. Melissa finally spoke, her voice shaking. "Look, if you'll just wait." Amanda straightened her coat, gathering her phone and passport. "I've done enough waiting." She didn't yell. She didn't storm away. She simply stepped aside, choosing stillness as resistance. Jada's camera followed her, capturing the aftermath, the gate agents, avoiding each other's eyes. Paul, muttering into his radio, the crowd whispering, "That was wrong." The hashtag number gate12 doubled in size before the gate even closed. From the reflection on the window, Amanda saw the glow of her own live stream feed. The terminal felt smaller now. Air pressed against the walls like something alive, restless. Gate 12 had become its own world, half courtroom, half stage. Amanda stood near the counter again. Not because she wanted to, but because standing back hadn't changed anything. She could feel every pair of eyes, both in the terminal and through the invisible crowd of thousands now watching through Jada's phone. Paul was speaking quietly to someone on his earpiece, the words security and policy floating through the white noise of the terminal. Melissa's fingers hovered over her keyboard, indecisive, as if she wanted to help but didn't know how. "Ma'am," Paul said, turning toward her, "we've contacted verification. Please wait." "How long?" Amanda asked. He blinked. "Excuse me? How long does it take to believe me?" Paul frowned. "This isn't personal, ma'am." "Yes," she said, her voice rising just enough to still the air. "It is." The camera jerked slightly. Jada's hands were shaking again. Comments scrolled faster than her eyes could read. She's speaking. Finally. Listen to her. Amanda took one step closer to the counter. Every time I prove who I am, someone still doubts what I've earned. Every credential, every title, every mile I've flown, it always comes back to this moment. Someone standing between me and where I'm supposed to be, asking if I belong. Melissa's lips parted as if to reply, but no sound came out. Paul straightened. There's no need to raise your voice. Amanda smiled tightly. Funny, I was calm when you ignored me. Calm when you called me sweetheart. Calm when you told me to step aside. Maybe my voice was never the problem. Maybe it's your comfort with my silence. The words hit harder than any shout. Even the boarding chime hesitated. Through the glass, the snow swirled in frantic spirals, reflecting in Amanda's eyes like static. She felt something uncoil in her chest, an old weight shifting. This wasn't anger. It was alignment. The clean click of truth finding its place. Jada moved closer, lowering the camera's angle, so Amanda filled the frame, tall, still, dignified. The chat erupted. Iconic. This is history. Number gate 1-2 justice. Paul looked at the phone, then at Amanda. You're being recorded, you know, he said. Half threat, half plea. I know, she replied. That's why I'm speaking carefully. For a long moment, no one moved. The speaker overhead buzzed with static. Somewhere, an airline jingle played, jarringly cheerful. A little girl tugged on her mother's coat near the window. Mommy, why are they mad at the lady? Her mother knelt and whispered, They're not mad, honey. They're confused. Amanda almost smiled. Even in chaos, children could see simplicity. Adults refused to. Melissa finally found her voice. Miss Cole, I. But Amanda raised a hand. It's fine. You don't have to defend it. Just remember this moment the next time someone who looks like me walks up to this counter. Melissa nodded, blinking fast. Something like shame flickered across her face. Paul cleared his throat. The flight's boarding is now officially closed, he said, almost triumphant. We can't reopen it. A murmur swept through the watching passengers. Someone muttered, That's not right. Another said, She should file a complaint. Amanda looked at the jet bridge so close, glowing like a promise, and then back at Paul. You think closing the gate means you've won? He hesitated. Ma'am, please don't. I'm not trying to win, she said softly. I'm trying to exist without being questioned for it. The livestream camera shook again, then steadied. Viewers crossed 12,000. Jada whispered off camera, They're going to regret this. Amanda turned slightly toward the phone lens, not to perform, but to anchor herself. She didn't want pity. She wanted a witness. Behind her, the snowstorm deepened. Light fractured into streaks across the floor, like cracks in glass. For a heartbeat, everything stilled. The hum of the vending machine, the chatter from other gates, even Paul's breath. It was the silence after an impact, the sound of the world adjusting around truth. Amanda stepped back, lifting her coat from the counter. The wool brushed her fingers, warm against the chill. She slid the VIP card into her pocket again. It felt heavier now, not as proof, but as reminder. Dignity wasn't granted. It was defended. Miss Cole, Melissa called softly. I'm sorry. Amanda turned to her, and for the first time that night, her voice gentled. You're not the one who needs to be. Then she walked toward the window. Outside, the plane's tail light blinked rhythmically against the snow. 1, 2, 3. Like a heartbeat counting down to something inevitable. Behind her, the crowd had stopped whispering. They were just watching. Amanda stood tall in that silence. The speaker crackled again, its voice too calm for the chaos it carried. 1 minute before gate closure. Amanda could feel it in her lungs, the air thinning, as if the room itself were holding its breath. Paul straightened his tie, glancing toward the glass doors. "Supervisor's coming," he murmured to Melissa. "He'll sort this out." Melissa didn't look relieved. She looked small. A tall man in a navy blazer strode toward them, the kind of presence that made everyone step aside without knowing why. His badge read, R. Evans, Airline Operations Supervisor. His expression was neutral, professionally, so the look of someone who had made a career out of sounding reasonable. "What's going on here?" Evans asked, scanning the scene. The passengers, the phones raised, the woman standing too calmly at the center of it all. Paul gestured. "Possible fraudulent VIP access. We requested security verification." Evans nodded once, eyes landing on Amanda. "Ma'am, I understand this is inconvenient. Policy requires ID revalidation if staff reports a discrepancy." There it was. The word that sanctified every injustice. Policy. Amanda met his gaze. A discrepancy based on what? Evans didn't answer. He turned to Melissa. "Did you flag her?" Melissa's voice was barely audible. "I just couldn't find her name on the initial list." "Then you followed the procedure." Evans's tone softened, almost kind. "You did the right thing." Amanda stepped closer, her voice steady. "She didn't find my name because she didn't look for it." Evans raised a hand, palm open. "Ma'am, please don't make this harder." The phrase hit her like a slap. Harder. As if she hadn't spent her life making things easier for everyone else, employees, investors, strangers who never knew her name but benefited from her work. Jada's camera tilted slightly to catch Evans's face. The comment feed exploded. Policy is the shield of bias. He's gaslighting her. 20K watching. Keep filming. Evans glanced at the phone. "You're alive?" Jada nodded. "People are concerned." He smiled thinly. "Then you can assure them this airline treats all passengers equally." Amanda laughed once, a quiet, disbelieving sound. "Equally?" she repeated. "Show me one person here you've stopped for being too ordinary to look important." Evans's face hardened. "Ma'am." "Don't ma'am me," she said. "You don't know my name, but you've already decided I don't belong here. That's not equality. That's convenient." The gate alarm beeped the pre-close signal. Paul tapped the counter. "We need to lock it down, sir." Evans hesitated. The camera was still on. The crowd was still watching. He turned to Melissa. "Close the gate." A collective murmur rippled through the terminal. Someone said, "Don't you dare." Another whispered, "Is this really happening?" Melissa's hand hovered over the button. Her eyes darted between Amanda and Evans. "Sir, maybe we can wait." "Do your job," Evans said, voice like cold steel. The sound that followed wasn't loud, but it was final. A click, the lock engaging. The door's green light turned red. From a mental sound, the prejudice stands. Amanda flinched as if something inside her had snapped. She didn't speak. She didn't move. Behind her, Jada whispered, "Oh my God." The chat was a storm. Now 20,000 people typing in real time. Outrage digitized. Number gate 1-2 injustice. She needs a lawyer. The FAA must see this. Evans exhaled, brushing invisible dust from his sleeve. "Ma'am, you're welcome to wait for the next flight. There's nothing more I can do." "Nothing more you want to do," Amanda said quietly. He ignored that. "Please clear the boarding area." The words didn't just dismiss her, they erased her existence from space. She stepped back, her reflection fractured in the glass door, one face multiplied into endless shards. The intercom beeped again. Flight 217 to New York now departing. Amanda turned to watch the jet bridge detach, the mechanical arms folding, like something ancient and merciless. Melissa finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Sir, Maybe we went too far. Evans didn't reply. He was already walking away, confident the system would protect him, as it always had. Amanda's hand brushed her coat pocket, feeling the outline of the VIP card still inside. It burned against her palm, a useless proof of belonging. Outside, the plane began to roll back. The lights of its engines flashed once, twice, like a slow heartbeat leaving her behind. For the first time that night, Amanda felt small enough to disappear. The camera caught her profile calm, proud, breaking quietly. In the feed's comments section, a single message pinned itself to the top. The system just locked its own door. The sound was small, a single click, but it carried the weight of something shutting far larger than a door. Amanda's reflection stared back at her in the glass half-shadow, half-red light. The gate behind her was sealed. The green turned crimson, then steady, unblinking. She stood motionless, the terminal around her dissolving into a blur of faces and noise. Evans had already walked away, talking into his radio. Paul was busy avoiding her eyes, fussing with papers that didn't matter anymore. Only Melissa remained near the counter, her posture shrinking. For a moment, even the intercom was silent. The only sound was Amanda's breathing, slow, controlled, the kind you learn after years of practicing grace under insult. Then, faintly, came the hum of the plane's engines outside. It rolled backward, its lights flashing once, twice, before fading into the storm. It was gone. Amanda didn't cry. She'd cried too many times before, and never in front of them. Instead, she just existed, perfectly still. The red light glowed across her face, tinting her skin in a way that almost looked deliberate, like the world was painting her guilty. Jada's camera trembled as she whispered into it. They locked her out. The plane left. Her voice broke mid-sentence. Comments flooded the live stream now at 25,000, climbing fast. They can't do that. This is discrimination. Where's the supervisor now? Melissa stepped closer to the counter, voice fragile. Miss Cole, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean... Amanda turned to her slowly. The movement was quiet, but enough to make Melissa flinch. I know, Amanda said. Her tone wasn't cold. It was heavy, as if weighted by centuries of repetition. You didn't mean it. None of you ever do. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, the apology dying somewhere between guilt and fear. Paul shifted uncomfortably. Look, this doesn't have to. Stop, Amanda said softly. You already did what you had to. Her voice was so calm, it was terrifying. The gate speakers chimed again, bright and oblivious. Flight 217 has departed. Please check monitors for new departure times. The mundanity of it made something inside her twist. The world moved on. Machines spoke over her silence. Jada lowered her phone, unable to keep filming. But even as she did, notifications exploded on the screen. Shared by @Aviation News. Trending. Number gate 12. The story had taken a life of its own, outside the terminal. Amanda didn't know it yet. She just stood there, her hand still in her coat pocket, fingers brushing the edge of her VIP card. It was warm from her touch, a useless relic of the identity she'd been forced to prove. She pulled it out and stared at it, the embossed logo catching the harsh light. It looked absurdly official, like a certificate of faith no one else believed in. Melissa whispered, You could file a complaint. I'll help if I can. Amanda didn't look up. Against what? A person? Or a system that trains them to think this way? No answer came. In the silence, the airport seemed to breathe again. Announcements resumed. Luggage wheels rolled by. Children laughed, somewhere distant. Life kept happening, indifferent. Amanda's breath fogged the glass in front of her. She traced one line with her finger, absent-mindedly just a straight streak cutting through the red reflection. For a second, she could see her eyes clearly through it. Then the condensation vanished, and her image blurred again. The door stayed locked. Jada took a hesitant step forward. "Miss Cole, are you okay?" Amanda let out a soft laugh that wasn't humor. "Do I look okay?" Jada hesitated. "No, but you look right." Amanda turned slightly, meeting her gaze. "Right?" Jada swallowed. Like the truth finally has a face." Amanda didn't respond. The sentence hung there, fragile and electric. The overhead lights dimmed slightly as the storm outside thickened, painting everything in a blue-gray wash. It was beautiful and suffocating all at once. Then, a sound, a soft ping from Jada's phone. She glanced down, frowning. "Someone tagged the FAA," she said. "It's getting big." Amanda didn't react. She couldn't yet. The exhaustion was too deep. The injustice too ordinary. But somewhere beneath the stillness, a pulse began to beat a rhythm that wasn't anger anymore, but inevitability. She pressed her hand against the glass door, the cold biting her skin. The reflection of the red light flared again, framing her fingers like embers. Behind her, Melissa whispered something that sounded like a prayer. The moment stretched. Click. Silence. Breath. A gate closed, but the story had just opened. The first thing Amanda noticed was the noise, not the kind that filled space, but the kind that shifted it. Somewhere in the terminal, phones began pinging. Screens lit up. A murmur rippled across the crowd, spreading faster than rumor ever could. "Miss Cole," Jada whispered, staring at her phone. "It's everywhere. You're trending. Number Gate 12 is live on the news feed. They're broadcasting it." Amanda turned slowly. The red glow of the gate light had become something else. Camera flashes. Reflections from dozens of phones. A sea of eyes that had all, suddenly, seen. The airline supervisor, Richard Evans, reappeared, his composure thinning under the weight of the moment. Behind him, a younger staffer whispered something into his ear. He frowned. "What do you mean, flagged by FAA systems? Who?" Then the terminal PA system interrupted him. "Attention. Flight 217 to New York, hold position on runway. Compliance check in progress." The words hit like thunder. Passengers at other gates turned toward the noise. A television mounted above the waiting area flickered, local news now airing a clip of Amanda at the counter, the red boarding light like a wound behind her. Jada looked up. "They stopped the plane," she said, half awe, half disbelief. Evans's radio crackled. "Richard, FAA audit initiated. Marcus Lee on call requesting full procedural log." Amanda froze. Marcus. She hadn't called him, but somehow he'd seen it. The system she'd helped build to monitor financial compliance had picked up her name through the viral tag. It had reached back. Evans turned on her, jaw tight. Amanda met his eyes. "Nothing," she said. "You did." Her voice carried farther than she expected. It sliced through the terminal hum, like a bell. "You didn't doubt the system when it failed. Me only when I dared to question it." The sentence hung there, echoing off the glass, into microphones, into the feed of 80,000 watching strangers. Someone in the crowd clapped once. It was hesitant, awkward. But then another joined, then more. Not loud, just steady, like something inevitable waking up. Evans raised his hand to quiet them, his calm fraying. "Let's not turn this into a spectacle." Amanda tilted her head. "It became one the moment you locked that door." Melissa stood behind the counter, trembling. "Sir," she whispered, "we're getting calls from headquarters, from legal." Evans's radio buzzed again, louder this time. "Immediate hold on all outbound flights. From Terminal B. Pending FAA review." His face was drained of color. Amanda took a slow step forward. That's what fairness feels like, Mr. Evans. Uncomfortable, delayed, inconvenient, but necessary. He glared at her, then at Jada's phone still recording. You think this makes you right? No, Amanda said quietly. It makes you seen. Her tone wasn't triumphant. It was weary human, and that was what made it sting more. The TV feed zoomed in on her face, calm and resolute under the fluorescent lights. The caption below read, Airline accused of discrimination. FAA audit underway. Melissa stepped around the counter. Miss Cole, she said softly, tears welling. I didn't want this to happen. Amanda turned to her, gentler now. Neither did I, but we both helped it. Paul approached, face red, muttering, She's exaggerating. Amanda's gaze silenced him. You called me sweetheart, she said, voice even. Now call me by my name. Paul's throat worked. Miss Cole. Good. The applause grew, not thunderous, but undeniable. A wave of small claps, phones raised, faces turned toward her, not out of curiosity, but acknowledgement. Evans's phone rang. He answered sharply, then froze. His expression shifted from defiance to panic. Yes, sir. Understood. He hung up, avoiding Amanda's eyes. Jada caught the moment, whispering into her mic. He just got the call. Evans cleared his throat. Miss Cole, the company deeply regrets this situation. You're, of course, welcome to reboard once the FAA clearance completes. Amanda nodded slowly. That's not what I wanted, she said. Evans blinked. Then what do you want? She looked around the crowd, the phones, the small girl by the window watching her with wide eyes. For people like her, Amanda said softly, to never see this happen again. Outside, the engines of Flight 217 powered down completely. Snow swirled in the glow of the runway lights, framing the scene like falling ash. Melissa placed a trembling hand on the counter beside Amanda's card. Your VIP pass. It's still valid, she whispered. Amanda picked it up, holding it between her fingers. The black plastic caught the reflection of red and blue lights from outside Airline FAA authority. For the first time that night, it looked heavy enough to matter. The cameras zoomed closer. Amanda turned to Evans one last time. You can call it protocol, she said. I'll call it proof. Then she tucked the card back into her coat pocket, shoulders squared. The intercom crackled. FAA audit in progress. All flights are temporarily suspended. The system had frozen itself justice, not as vengeance, but as mirror. The crowd had thinned. The storm outside pressed snow against the glass, like breath against skin. Jada's phone was still recording, the red dot glowing faintly. She looked at Amanda, then at Melissa trembling by the counter, and made a choice. She lowered the camera. The live stream kept running, but no one would see what happened next, only hear it, later, retold in fragments. Amanda leaned against the window, her coat draped open now. Her reflection looked softer in the glass, the red light replaced by the pale blue of early dawn seeping through the clouds. Melissa approached slowly, her voice small. Miss Cole, she said, I need to say something before everyone comes back. Amanda turned slightly. She was too tired for anger, too human for victory. Go ahead. Melissa's hands twisted together. You were right. I didn't see you. Not really. Amanda waited. When I started this job, Melissa continued, her eyes darting to the floor, I worked nights at the ticket counter. Customers would talk down to me. Once, a woman told me I looked too cheap to work for an airline. I saved up for this uniform because I thought if I looked the part, maybe people would treat me like I belonged. Her voice cracked. So, when I saw you, someone dressed like I used to dress, I thought, She trailed off, ashamed of the sentence she couldn't finish. Amanda closed her eyes for a moment. The quiet between them stretched long enough to hurt. Then she said, "You thought it was safer to doubt me than to be mistaken again." Melissa nodded, tears streaking her mascara. "I'm sorry." Amanda looked at her, the careful bun of her hair, the trembling hands clutching the corner of the counter, the badge slightly tilted on her chest. And she saw herself not the CEO version, but the younger one, the woman who had once been told her voice was too sharp, her dress too plain, her confidence too much. "I know that look," Amanda said softly. "I've worn it too." Melissa's breath hitched. Amanda continued, gentler now. "It never leaves, you know. That need to prove you belong. You keep thinking if you work harder, dress better, smile longer, someone will stop testing you. But they never do." Melissa wiped her eyes. "So what do you do?" Amanda's gaze drifted toward the snowy runway. "You learn to stop proving," she said, "and start existing anyway." For a while, neither spoke. The storm outside began to calm, flakes falling slower, quieter. The silence didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt earned. Jada watched them from a distance, her phone still by her side, but she couldn't bring herself to lift it again. Some truths didn't belong to the internet. Melissa reached for something on the counter, a small paper cup of water, and handed it to Amanda. Her hand shook. Amanda accepted it without hesitation. "Thank you," she said. 2 simple words, but they carried the weight of what came before them. Melissa exhaled, her shoulders lowering. "They're going to suspend me," she murmured. Amanda shook her head. "They'll need someone to explain why this happened. You tell them." "Tell them what?" "The truth," Amanda said. "That wasn't a policy. It was fear." Melissa nodded, swallowing hard. A faint chime echoed through the terminal Jada's phone again. She glanced down, eyes widening. "Miss Cole," she said softly, "the FAA's releasing a statement. They're grounding the flight crew until the investigation's done." Amanda's lips parted. "Already?" Jada nodded. "It's moving fast." Amanda looked at Melissa again. "See? Systems break faster than hearts." Melissa gave a small, broken laugh. "You really are who you said you were." Amanda smiled faintly. "I always was." Outside, dawn began to push back the night. The storm lightened into a soft gray, the kind that promised clear skies but not yet warmth. Amanda adjusted her coat, smoothing the fabric where it had wrinkled. The same coat that had condemned her hours ago now felt like armor she'd outgrown. Melissa whispered, "What happens now?" Amanda met her eyes. "Now," she said, "we breathe." And for the first time since the gate closed, she did slow, full, unhurried. Jada raised her camera again, not to film, but to take a single still photo. 2 women, one standing, one bowed slightly, the first light of morning spilling between them. In the live stream's final frozen frame, before the battery died, Amanda's reflection in the glass looked whole again. The storm had passed by dawn. What was left was silence clean, raw, almost reverent. The terminal smelled faintly of coffee and disinfectant, that peculiar mix of exhaustion and renewal that only airports knew. Amanda sat near the same window she had once stood before, her coat folded neatly on her lap. The red gate light was gone. Now, pale sunlight spilled through the glass, soft and forgiving. Her phone vibrated once. A single notification banner slid across the screen. FAA notice. Temporary audit initiated. Disciplinary review in progress. Amanda exhaled. It wasn't triumph, she felt, just completion. The system had finally looked back at itself. Melissa approached quietly, still in uniform, though her badge had been removed. She stopped a few steps away, uncertain. "They're sending a new team to take over the desk," she said softly. "I'm done here." Amanda nodded, eyes kind. Then maybe something good has already started. Melissa hesitated. They want to interview me about what happened. Tell them the truth, Amanda said. Melissa swallowed. I will. A pause stretched between them long enough for the weight of everything unsaid to settle. Amanda stood, pulling the coat tighter around her shoulders. Then, in a quiet, deliberate motion, she shrugged it off and held it out. Melissa blinked. What are you? Keep it, Amanda said. It's warm and heavier than it looks. Melissa hesitated, then took it. The fabric sagged in her arms, as if carrying all the nights Amanda had endured without breaking. I can't take this. You already have, Amanda replied, smiling faintly. Now, do something good with it. Melissa nodded, eyes glassy. The coat hung awkwardly on her smaller frame, but she didn't try to fix it. She just stood there, like a student holding a diploma she didn't feel ready for. The gate intercom chimed again, its tone softer now, almost human. Attention. Boarding for rescheduled Flight 217 to New York will begin shortly. Passengers began to stir, gathering their belongings. The air felt lighter somehow, as if the terminal itself had exhaled after a long night of holding its breath. Jada appeared beside Amanda. Camera off, phone lowered. They're replaying your speech on the news, she said. People are calling it the Gate 12 stand. Amanda winced slightly. They'll move on by tomorrow. Maybe, Jada said. But tonight, someone will walk through a door they wouldn't have opened before. Amanda smiled. That's enough. The first boarding group was called. The agent at the counter, a new young man, was visibly nervous. When Amanda approached, he straightened. Miss Cole? He said softly. Welcome aboard. And thank you. She nodded, taking her pass. The words that had haunted her for hours echoed faintly in her mind. Ma'am, please step aside. She turned toward the line, and there a frail older man struggled with his luggage. Amanda paused, then gently placed a hand on his arm. Sir, she said with quiet warmth, please, step ahead. The man smiled, confused but grateful. And in that moment, the words no longer belonged to humiliation. They had become grace. The line moved forward. Sunlight poured through the terminal windows, catching the faint shimmer on the floor where snowmelt pooled like glass. Melissa stood by the gate, still wearing Amanda's coat. She raised a hand, not in apology now, but in respect. Amanda returned the gesture. As she walked down the jet bridge, the sound of her heels echoed softly, steady, measured. At the doorway to the plane, she glanced back one last time. Through the glass, she saw Jada lifting her camera, not to film, but to capture the morning light streaming across the now quiet gate. No hashtags, no applause, just light. Amanda boarded. The door closed behind her, not with a click of exclusion, but with the soft sigh of closure. Outside, the plane's engines hummed to life, and for the first time since the night began, Amanda let herself smile, not because justice had been served perfectly, but because dignity had survived intact. As the aircraft taxied down the runway, the coat she had given away remained behind on Melissa's shoulders. In a terminal that had finally learned how heavy silence could be, and how light forgiveness felt when spoken out loud. The story that began with a locked door ended with one opening. And in between, the world had learned slowly, painfully how to see. How did this story make you feel? Angry, inspired, or quietly understood? Tell me in the comments what moment stayed with you the most. If you believe every voice deserves to be heard, tap like, share, and subscribe. It helps stories like this reach further. Until next time, keep listening for the truth that lives between silence and justice.